Hey everybody, it's Scott Shetler from Extreme Performance Training Systems and welcome to Morning Mobility. In today's video, we're going to look at some exercises that you can do that are really good for lower back health, particularly if you're stuck sitting at your desk all day, you suffer from that back pain from being seated. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple exercises that you can do when you're seated, and then there's a few exercises that you can do just by simply standing up. So the nice thing about this is if you're working in your office or your home office, as many of you may be doing right now, you don't need a lot of space. You could do this with your desk chair and just a little bit of space that you need to stand. So again, there's about 5 exercises that we're going to go through. A couple of them are going to be seated and a couple of them are standing. So the first one, simply sitting from your desk chair. A really good thing to do are just some lower back arches. So what you're going to do is sitting upright, and you can put your hands on the side of your chair, and all you're going to do is arch your back in one direction and then round it in the other. What we're trying to do is mobilize all the joints from the base of the skull all the way down to the tailbone. So you're simply going to round the back and then arch the back. If you're familiar with the cat-camel exercise, this is very similar. You're just doing this from a seated position. So you're just trying to lengthen the spaces between all the vertebrae as you make these kind of opposing C's with your spine. And you just want to do about 10 to 15 repetitions. Okay, let's do a few more. And like with any joint mobility, make sure you're just breathing calmly and relaxed as you do these exercises. Good, so the second exercise that we're going to do from the seated position is going to be a figure 4 stretch. Now this is really good for the outer hip muscles. A lot of times the glutes get really tight and they can cause a little bit of back pain. So what you do for this one is to sit in a figure 4 position, and you want to keep your back in a neutral position. You don't want to round your back too much as you're trying to stretch forward. What we want to do is keep our spine in more of a neutral alignment, and then we're going to fold forward at the hips to create the stretch on the outer hip. So you can hang your arms over the front, almost like you're trying to touch your toes, but again, fight that urge to round your back in an effort to get lower in the stretch. So keep that chest up, fold forward at the hips, and lean forward until you feel a stretch on the outer part of the glute. When you feel that stretch, go ahead and hold it for a few deep breaths. You might find that as you take these calming breaths that you relax and you drop into the stretch a little bit deeper, and it's great. Just like with any exercise though, if you feel the pain is getting a little bit too intense, you want to make sure you back off on the range of motion a little bit. So if I'm going down and I'm really starting to get a lot of pain, maybe in the hip or the lower back, I'm just going to sit up a little bit and reduce the intensity of the stretch. Again, let's go ahead and switch legs. Again, you're going to go to that seated figure 4 position, keeping that chest up. We're going to fold forward at the hips, stretching the outer part of the hip, the glute medius or the medial glute. And make sure that you're just breathing calmly and relaxed. Breathe deep into the abdomen and then exhale calmly as you ease into the stretch. Good, let's take another breath or two. Good. So like I said, those 2 stretches can be done very easily just sitting in your desk chair. And then the last 3 stretches we're going to do from a standing position. So the next one is a lunge hip flexor stretch. So all you're going to do is you're going to stand up and you're going to step into kind of a lunge position here. Now we don't want to let the back knee drop down as if we're doing a lunge. We want to keep that straight and keep that foot flat on the ground. We're trying to feel a stretch through the top part of the thigh into the front of the hip and even into the lower abdomen. So you shift your weight forward while pulling back on your chest and shoulders, looking up toward the ceiling, and you're going to feel a pull through the top of the thigh. We can increase the feel of the stretch by reaching up with the hand on the side that we're stretching and turning toward the leg that we're lunging on. You're going to feel this up into the abdomen a little bit deeper. So you're going to hold this stretch for about, I don't really like to count time, I just like to go for at least 3 to 5 or so deep breaths as you do this. What that encourages you to do is using more relaxed breathing pattern, which is better for allowing the muscles to relax. A lot of times people drop in these stretches and take really short, shallow breaths, and it's not going to allow the muscle to relax. So about 3 to 5 deep, relaxing breaths. Good, then we're going to switch legs. Again, keeping that back leg, foot planted so that leg is straight or fairly straight. And then you're going to shift your weight forward, feeling the stretch through the top of the thigh to the front of the hip into the abdomen. And then again, we're going to increase the intensity of the stretch by reaching up on the side that we're stretching and then turning toward the leg that we're lunging on again, taking at least 3 deep breaths. Good. Now another stretch that's really good to do from a standing position, I like to just take my hands and place them in the lower back. Now it's really important when you do this one that you contract your glute muscles really tight and push your hips forward to create the stretch. You don't want to think about extending the back and hinging in the back. You want to squeeze the glute muscles and push the hips forward. Then as you do that, you're going to look up toward the ceiling so that you're creating kind of a bow through the body. So squeeze the glutes, push forward, and what this is going to do is going to stretch out the abs and then the front of the hips and the hip flexors a little bit. And then again, as you're doing this, make sure you take a few deep relaxing breaths. Good. Let's take one more breath. Good. Now again, a key point with that one, make sure you're squeezing those glutes like I said a minute ago. It's really important for protecting your lower back when you're doing a back bend stretch. Now the last stretch that we're going to do is our standing hamstring. So this is kind of like doing a seated hamstring hurdler stretch, except we're going to do it from a standing position. We're going to put all our weight on our left leg. We're going to stick the right leg out so that it's resting on the heel and straight. Now the way to do this stretch is to fold at the hips and squat on that back leg. We don't want to round the back and bend over toward the toe. We're trying to fold the hips and sit back, keeping that chest up, and we're going to feel the stretch come on a lot faster in the hamstring. And you can work your way down. You can rest your hands on your thigh. You could reach a little bit lower down to the shin. That's fine. If you can, reach the toes. That's great. Just don't round the back in an effort to get down there, okay? So like I said, keeping that chest up, arch the lower back, folding at the hips to stretch out the hamstring. Again, just like the other stretches, taking a few deep breaths. And then let's go ahead and switch legs. So now this time we're going to sit back on the right leg, extending out the left leg, resting it on the heel. And again, we're going to facilitate the stretch by folding at the hips, sticking the hips back and squatting on that back leg. Again, you can rest on the thigh. You can reach your way down to the shin. Just keep that lower back arch, that chest up so that we're putting the emphasis on the hamstring as you do the stretch. And again, holding the stretch for at least 3 deep breaths. Good. And by doing these stretches, we're stretching out the hip flexors, we're stretching out the medial part of the glutes, the outer hip, and then we're also stretching out the hamstrings. And bringing some mobility to the back with the spinal extensions. So these exercises kind of loosen up the muscles that get tight as we're sitting around at a desk all day. I know some people have gone to some standing desks or even some treadmill desks or something like that, which encourages them to get up and have those hips extended. But if you find yourself sitting for long periods, those hip flexors are flexed and getting tight. Periodically get up throughout the day, maybe every half hour, hour or so, and do this series of stretches. They should only take you about 5 minutes. Again, you can do this couple sitting at the chair, then get up and do the other 3, and what you'll find is that back pain that you've maybe suffered from throughout the day will start to go away, and this will be a good way to manage it. So hope you like today's morning mobility stretches and mobility exercises, and we'll see you next time.